Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am your teacher, Dr. Khurram Shehzad. I am from National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. This is our first class about research methodology. In this video, I am going to talk about what is meant by research, what are some of the characteristics of research, and later on I will be talking about worldview in research or research paradigms in research methodology. Research is formed by two words, namely re, a prefix meaning to do it again, and the noun search meaning to investigate or to look for something. It is a systematic process of critical inquiry leading to a valid proposition and conclusion that are common to others. Research can be defined as a studious inquiry or examination, especially investigation or experimentation aimed at the discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts, or practical application of such new or revised theories or laws. Research is understood to follow a certain structural process. Dear students, in this definition, we can find the word systematic. So it means that there will be certain structures, there will be certain techniques that you are supposed to follow in order to reach your conclusion. Research starts with a problem. It means that as a researcher, you have certain research questions in your mind. You have certain issues or questions in your mind. So keeping those things in your mind, you determine that what kind of methodology you are going to adopt to carry out the research. So research is carried out for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of the people. Research is also defined as the scientific investigation of phenomena, which includes collection, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of facts that lines an individual speculation with reality. Remember, it is scientific investigation. So use of scientific method is involved. Scientific because you are going to follow certain stages. You are going to follow certain processes. You are going to adopt certain ways to reach the conclusion, to give a solution to the problem that you have already identified. For this purpose, you are going to collect the data from the people. You are going to analyze the data, and then you are going to present it in the form of a report or a thesis or a research article. In the broader sense of the word, the definition of research includes any gathering of data, information, and facts and figures for the advancement of knowledge. So it means that you are going to advance knowledge. It means that you are going to intervene into the phenomena, and once you are going to intervene, you are going to come up with the contribution that you are going to make in the sea of knowledge. Knowledge is already there, but the problem that you have identified, it is new problem. The angle, the lens that you are going to look at the problem, from the perspective that you are going to look at the problem, this perspective is new, this angle is new, this lens is new. So that is why your research is new. Once your research is new, you are going to make a contribution in the sea of knowledge. Research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. So first of all, you always identify the issue. You always identify the problem. Once the problem is identified, you raise certain questions. And once you raise the questions, you try to adopt a methodology. Methodology will provide you a way to reach your destination. So you will formulate certain research questions. You will formulate certain research objectives. Keeping in mind those objectives or research questions, you will develop a methodology, and once you follow that methodology, you will collect the data, you will analyze the data, and you will give the findings of your research. And in this way, you will be making your contribution in the sea of knowledge. In this way, you will be able to present the solution of the problem that you have identified. Well, now we should talk about the characteristics of research. First of all, it is empirical. The data that is collected is based on observation and the general truth. The gathering of data uses the five senses. So we have got five senses usually, and we talk about them. Research is based on direct experience or observation by the researcher. So as a researcher, you experience certain problem in the society. We being educational researchers, we try to understand that what kind of problems, what kind of issues are coming in front of us so far as departing of knowledge is concerned, or so far as when we are interacting with the students, what kind of behavior they are displaying, or are there issues in the curriculum that we are teaching to our students. So our research, which is educational research, will be dealing with the problems and issues which are related to education, the problems which are related to linguistics, the problems which are related to literature, that how literature is posing certain kinds of issues in front of the students. So observations, they play a very important role. Only base data on what you see, direct observation, and not what you think or want to happen. Stick to the truth, even if it is not what you expected. This leads on to precise judgment in number. So later on, I will talk about if you are collecting quantitative data, so of course you are dealing with the numbers. And if you are collecting the verbal data or you are dealing with the narrative, then you are using qualitative research and your findings will be different. Systematic. So second characteristic of research is that it is systematic. The process of research is procedural and very principled. It follows laid down step-by-step methods of studying the variables. So variables and constructs I will talk about later on. So variables usually we have in quantitative research, and constructs usually we have in qualitative research. So constructs have to be operationally defined. Concepts are ideas, concepts, so they are constructs. So variables are something which keeps on changing, like age. So age of the people changes. Like gender. So gender of the people changes. So gender is one of the variables. But motivation, it is one of the constructs. So research is empirical, it is based on observation, it is systematic, it follows certain procedures, it has got steps that you follow in order to reach your destination, in order to find solution of the problem. Replicable. So the steps that you are following, you should enlist them. You should talk about them, that this is how you have carried out your research. This is how you have systematically collected the data. This is how you have systematically analyzed the data. Okay. And other people, they will be able to replicate your research so that they should reach more or less the same conclusion. So if it is replicable, it is research. So third characteristic of a research is it is replicable. The research design and procedures to enable the researcher to arrive at a valid and conclusive results. The results are bound to be the same if done using the same model and procedure in such situations in which other researchers are interested in previously investigated question. They may want to confirm the findings of previous research in new environment, in new setting, with a new group of subjects or people or participants, or at a different point in time. The next characteristic of research is that it is cyclic. Of course, once you carry out the research, you also talk about the delimitations of your research. Because a researcher cannot do so many things in just one research. So it has got certain delimitations. It has got certain limitations. And of course, you recommend certain things at the end of your research once you have concluded your research. So you talk about the recommendations where you suggest certain other kinds of researches, directions to the other researchers. So it is cyclic. That is why usually it is said it starts with a problem and ends with a problem, because you have not been able to identify all the problems related to that particular issue, and you have not been able to answer all the problems which are related to that issue. It is logical. Research is based on valid procedures and principles. It should be logically carried out in order, using a sequence that makes sense to anyone. Methodical. Research is conducted in a methodical manner, without bias, using systematic methods and procedures. Usually it is said that quantitative research is unbiased and qualitative research is biased. But remember, when you are following different theoretical perspectives, different theoretical frameworks, and you are making use of them, the different theoretical lenses, models in your research, so your understanding is subjective, but still it is following the scientific method, still it is methodical, still it is following different kinds of procedures, so it should be unbiased. Analytical. Research uses proven analytical procedures in gathering the data, whether historical, descriptive, experimental, and case study analysis is done in a procedural way. So when your research, it is following a procedure, it has got certain steps, it means that it is analytical. And of course, one of the characteristics of a researcher is that the researcher himself or herself is analytical, is looking at the things from different angles, from different perspectives, is analyzing the data deeply, is looking at the verbal data from different kinds of perspectives. So you should have an analytical brain, so that you should be able to carry out the analytical analysis of the text, of the numbers, of the procedures that you are making use of. So logical, cyclical, methodical, and analytical. These are some other characteristics of research. Reproducibility. Another characteristic of your research is that it should be reproducible. Is your experiment or thesis designed flawlessly with clear procedures so that others can test your findings? So replicability we have already talked about. So you should write each and every step in your research report so that the other person who is interested in the same kind of problem but in a different setting with different kind of people, so he or she should be able to carry out the same kind of research there. So it should be replicable. Originality. Lastly, your research should be original. This should go without saying, but all work should be original. Also, originality should apply to the overall idea driving the work. Why cover something that has been covered hundreds of times before? So of course, once your research is original, it is going to make a contribution, and that will be the kind of knowledge that you are going to produce. That will be the kind of knowledge that you can claim in the end once the research is over. Well, dear students, in the last part of my introductory lecture on research, I will be talking about paradigm. Paradigm is usually a grand shift, a big shift in the sea of knowledge that people make. Paradigm is also known as worldview. So of course, usually we start our research from the paradigm, from the worldview that we have adopted for ourselves. So there are 3 different paradigms, or in some research books you will find 5 different research paradigms that people talk about. These paradigms will help us to carry out our research. So from these paradigms we talk about ontology, epistemology and axiology. Okay, so ontology is talking about the nature of reality, the nature of being. Epistemology is talking about the nature of knowledge. Let's define the paradigm. A paradigm is a comprehensive belief, because it is quite comprehensive. It is conceptualized here and it helps us to determine that what we are going to do. Many of the students, when they come in my office and they explain or talk about their research, and I ask them a question that in which paradigm your research falls, I have seen that they are unable to give me the answer. And usually these things are not explained in most of the research books. But if you want to read about paradigms, Cohen, Mannion and Morrison in their research methodology in education, in this book they talk about comprehensively research paradigms. Nature of reality. Nature of reality will tell me that where I fall. I ask them that what kind of research you have done, and they say that I have carried out the critical discourse analysis of my data. Or they talk about that I am using literary theory. You know, literary theory or critical discourse analysis, their task is to bring about positive changes in the society. So basically they are transformative researchers. So their research paradigm is transformative. So we should understand that what kind of research paradigm we fall in. And usually the very first research question that we start with what? It talks about the nature of reality. It talks about the nature of being. So our research questions, they should come out from the perspective that we are using in our research. So a paradigm is a comprehensive belief system, worldview or framework that guides research and practice in a field of study. So it's a comprehensive framework which explains that how do we understand the nature of reality? Is it out there in the world or is it in the mind of a person? Are you following positivist or post-positivist paradigm, or you are following interpretivist or social constructivist paradigm, or you are following mixed method pragmatic research paradigm, or you are following critical theory or transformative research paradigm? And these research paradigms, they present different worldviews. And once you understand these different worldviews, the nature of reality, the nature of knowledge, it changes. When you look at the reality differently, it means you understand the knowledge in a different way. So nature of reality, your ontological underpinnings, your ontological background will determine your epistemological background, and epistemological and ontological backgrounds will determine the methodology that you are going to adopt to carry out your research. From a philosophical perspective, a paradigm comprises a view of the nature of reality, ontology. It is mental model. It is comprehensive model. It explains the things thoroughly. It helps us to conceptualize our research comprehensively. A view of the nature of reality, whether it is external or internal to the knower, to the researcher. For some people, reality is out there in the society. For some people, reality is inside the mind of a person. A related view of the type of knowledge that can be generated and standards for justifying it, epistemology. So ontology will help us to determine the epistemological background of knowledge, the nature of knowledge itself, epistemology, and a disciplined approach to generating that knowledge, that is methodology. So these three things are interlinked. Ontology will determine epistemology, and epistemology will determine methodology, and these three things are interlinked. So very first research question that you are putting in your synopsis or in your research report or thesis, it should be a what question? It should tell us that you are going to question the nature of reality, you are going to question the nature of knowledge. And later on, the other questions should be the how questions or the why questions. And one of the other questions that you should add in your synopsis or your research thesis, it should be related to the social relevance of your research. Whether it is educational research or linguistic research or literary research or business research, all these things, they have got social relevance. That what will be the benefit to the society, what kind of benefit your research is going to offer for the society at large. So what is the social relevance of your research? For educational researchers, there are several major paradigms that govern their inquiries into the policies and practices of education. So positivism and post-positivism, they stay together. For them, the nature of reality is almost the same. Then we have got constructivism. In constructivism, we have got interpretivism, little bit different. Then we have got critical theory, little bit different. But under the umbrella term of social constructionism, we will find them. And pragmatism, that is the mixture of quantitative as well as qualitative researches, or mixture of positivism and constructivism is pragmatism. Positivism is sometimes referred to as scientific method because it is external to the people, because human beings, when they are carrying out the research, they are not involved in that research. They are not subjectively involved in that research. They are distant from that research. So it is scientific method or scientific research. It is based on the rationalistic empirical philosophy that originated with Aristotle, Francis Bacon, Locke, Comte, and Kant, and reflects a deterministic philosophy. So you determine each and everything, all the steps of the research beforehand, that how you are going to collect the data, how you are going to analyze the data. So you determine all these steps beforehand. So it is deterministic. It is objective. For them, reality is one. It is external to the people, in which causes probably determine effects or outcomes. Walking helps decrease sugar levels in diabetic patients. So cause is walking and effect is decrease in sugar level in diabetic patients. So usually the scientific method, the physical sciences or the natural sciences, they make use of positivism or post-positivism. They make use of statistical procedures. They make use of numeric data. They make use of numbers. So they fall in the category of positivism or post-positivism. So that is scientific research. That is objective research. For them, reality is one. For them, truth is one. The scientific research paradigm strives to investigate, confirm, and predict law-like patterns of behavior, law-like, deterministic, and is commonly used in graduate research to test theories or hypotheses. So this approach, this paradigm is used to test theories or hypotheses. This is particularly useful in natural sciences, physical sciences, and to some extent in social sciences, especially where very large sample sizes are involved. So that is quantitative research, survey research. Generally, its focus is on the objectivity of the research process. The positivist paradigm mostly involves quantitative methodology, experimental methods, treatments, and control groups and administration of pre-test and post-tests to measure or gain scores. Here the researcher is external to the research site and is the controller of the research process. So researcher controls each and everything while staying out of the context. On the other hand, the other paradigm, constructivist paradigm or critical theory paradigm or interpretivist paradigm, it approaches the research with the intention of understanding the world of human experience. Human beings, they are not the same. They have their own likes and dislikes. They have their own understanding of the problem, of the phenomena. So interpretation is involved. Verbal data is involved. Narrative is involved. Numbers are not involved here, suggesting that reality is socially constructed. So they believe that reality is socially constructed. Systems are socially constructed. Truth is socially constructed. The interpretivist, constructivist researcher tends to rely on the participants' views of the situation being studied and recognizes the impact on the research of their own background and experiences. Importance of social interactions in infants. So you will be collecting the data from the parents about the infants, from the people, how they have experienced them, what they say about it. So data will be verbal. Numbers are not involved. So their realities will be different. Their truths will be different. So individualistic aspect is involved. Internal aspect is involved. Interpretation is involved. Reality is inside. It is not outside. Constructivists do not generally begin with a theory. Rather, they generate or inductively develop a theory or patterns of meanings throughout the research process. The constructivist researcher is most likely to rely on qualitative data, collection methods and analysis, or a combination of both qualitative and quantitative methods to some extent. Quantitative data may be utilized in a way which supports or expands upon qualitative data and effectively deepens the description. Usually, when quantitative data is involved, it will become a mixed method research. But to some extent, if you are making use of quantitative data, it's okay. So have a look at it now. Ontology, epistemology, methodology, okay, and then data collection procedures. So positivist, reality is single. For constructivist, reality is multiple. And pragmatic, they are making use of quantitative as well as qualitative data. So that is, they are also dealing with the social issues, but it's a combination of both positivist and constructivist worldview. Epistemological underpinnings, nature of knowledge, observer is independent of that being researched. Independent. Observer is dependent of that being researched. And in pragmatic approach, that is the combination of both. So unbiased, positivist, biased, constructivists, and goal-oriented, keeping in mind that what are your goals, you are making use of interpretivist as well as positivist paradigm, so it is goal-oriented. Methodology, positivist, quantitative, interpretivist, qualitative, and pragmatic, mixed method. So data collection, experiments, quasi-experiments, tests and scales. And qualitative, interviews, observations, document analysis, visual data, narratives, verbal data, pictures. This is how qualitative researcher will collect the data. Mixed method may include tools from both positivist and interpretivist paradigm, interviews, observations, and testing and experiments. Pragmatism is not committed to any one system of philosophy or reality. Pragmatist researchers focus on the what and how of the research problem. Well, dear students, in my today's class, I have talked about what is research. We have read some of the definitions of research. We have talked about the characteristics of research, that it is empirical, it is replicable, it is logical, it is, it is following certain steps and procedures. Okay, so it is using scientific method. Lastly, I have talked about the worldview, and we have talked about 4 different kinds of worldviews: positivist and post-positivists. They make use of quantitative data. For them, reality is one. For them, the researcher is not involved in the research. The researcher is external to that reality. Interpretivist or constructivist paradigm, for them reality is not one. For them realities are multiple. For them truth is not one, truths are multiple. And pragmatists make use of both kind of researches. And lastly, we have talked about transformative research paradigm. Usually critical theory and critical discourse analysts, they make use of transformative research paradigm, because their job is to identify the issue and then to give them solution to that problem, give the people the awareness about that problem. In transformative research, ideology is involved. In transformative research, power relations are involved. In transformative research, the people who are on the periphery and the people who are in the center, such type of things are involved, and their job is to bring about changes in the society. So these are the 4 worldviews that I have presented today, and they will help you to present your research questions, to develop your research questions, and then determine your methodology in order to reach to the solution of the problem. Thank you very much.